So after looking at this for a couple of minutes, I think I'm going to go in a different direction. Most of it is great. I just want to maybe change some colors. So let me change the color of this top bar. And I do love that. Purple is good. Let's edit this color just a tad. Make it a little more on the orange side maybe. Just going to noodle around with this color wheel. Definitely needs to be darker. Maybe we'll stick with the default, what it was right there. So I think that really pops out against the blue. I think everything was almost too blended together where this didn't pop out at you. So I think we're on the right track. So let's continue to noodle around. And I almost wonder, I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting. I'm going to actually take this text and turn it so it's vertical. If it's going to allow me to do it easily. There we go. Just playing around with some alternative layouts. The layout we had was fine, but I almost wonder if we do this, then maybe I can make this bigger or make it a sans serif. What's a really good sans serif font? I know right off the bat that Railway is an excellent choice. Let's do that if we can find it. Or whichever one I find first. That's a sans serif. Let's keep looking. Let's go to the R's. I wish there was a way to search, but you can't. You got to manually flip through all these fonts to find it. You can't just type in R and find it. Let's do Railway thin. That might be too thin, but we'll see. Let's do all caps and let's reduce the size so it can all fit on one line. That's perfect. I need to make it bolder, so let's go back and try to find Railway. Gotta go all the way back down here. Let's try Railway a little bit thicker of a weight. Perfect. So and we'll have to shift this over a little bit to create more balance since this has taken up a little bit of space. And I want this to stretch. I'm going to add a little bit of letter spacing so it stretches across all the way. I'm just making sure there's enough white space between the left and the right sides. So that's an option, definitely different. I think I kind of liked it before, but this is all just experimenting. And if you want to go back, you can always just undo, 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 which is right up here. I'm doing a little keyboard trick, which is Command Z. And actually, I'm going to go back. Let's see, redo. I kind of saw something here that could work. I really like this bold color. It makes me wonder if we can experiment with the color a little bit more. And then we're going to do some photo editing because I think this photo needs a little bit more saturation. So this is an option here. Make it angled. Make this angled. A little more interesting. Maybe reduce the opacity a little bit so you can still see the background. And this will eventually need to be turned around at some point in time. We'll do that a little bit later. That really pops out at you. Of course, I don't want to have the plain wing disappear. So this one might prove a little tricky. But this is why we experiment. So that's an option right here. So let's go back a few stages and kind of figure out a different kind of thing that will work for this photo. So I'm going to go ahead and accentuate the colors in this photo a little bit more. I feel like that's maybe where it's lacking for me. So I'm going to go to Filter and mess with some of the options. So let's bring out, actually let's make it sharper. I'm going to reduce the blur quite a bit. And let's add a little more saturation. So you notice the blues and the waters really start to come out. And the contrast will also bring out more colors. You don't want to do it too much or it looks washed out. So let's back that off just a notch. And let's make it a little bit brighter. Play around with some options. Play around with tint. Saturation, if we did black and white, that would be the dullest travel book ever. So let's bring out those colors. Okay, so let's do the bar thing. Let's actually go to shapes. Let's bring in, I almost wonder, let's do a circle. I know what we're going to do. Let's bring in this shape right here. And we're going to put our little line, our tag line. We're just going to reduce it and put it on several lines and try to fit it in this shape. Let's reduce the size just a tad and make it 4 lines. There we go, perfect. But I do need to bold the text, and I would like to make it black. Make sure it stands out. And I may need to change the font as well, so that's also an option. I'm going to change the shape, black to match. Keep that in this corner. And let's arrange that and send that to the back. So keep selecting that as opposed to the type. So now we can select the type. So that's an option. Of course, we like white space, right? So we're going to make the shape a little bigger. Give us a little more white space. Now that's an option. I think this font could probably be different, and I can play around with that a little bit later. And I can even group these together and rotate, add like our own little sticker thing. You can even do this with a filled in shape, I believe. There's the filled in shape. So if I wanted to do that red color, bring it in. Actually, that's a different shape. Let me find the one. Well, maybe that's all they have. That's the same shape. I can do the same thing. Make it a filled in color. Send this to the back. We go ahead and take the line out. We don't need that anymore. And we can make this white and bigger. Maybe add some more line spacing. Oops. Not spacing between characters, but spacing between the lines. We unbold just to kind of experiment a little bit. So that's how we kind of add the little badge. It may not be for this book, but just kind of showing you guys some options. So I'm pretty happy with the overall layout of this book cover, but I don't feel an emotional connection to this photo, although it's good. I want to kind of bring in maybe some different photos just to kind of test some things out, just for the sake of experimentation. Let's go ahead and delete this. And let's add in this photo. I actually found a vertical photo, so this would naturally crop better and give us more cropping options. Let's send that to the back. And I'm already liking this better. What I love is it can fill out the entire book, and I don't have to crop it significantly, so it doesn't lose a lot of its character. Of course, the headline might need to be shrunk down a little bit, but that's not an issue. Let's make that smaller. Let's bring it to 72 and tuck it nicely to the right of or to the left of the subject. We can even put our name there. I kind of like the name centered, or maybe we'll play around with the name in a little bit. But this is just really working out well. I like our badge, but let's play around since these are kind of orangey colors. Let's do something opposite of warm. Let's do some cool colors. Play around with some options. That's kind of cool. It's kind of faded, similar to this background. But let's add a little bit more depth, a little bit more of a stronger color, just so that white text pops out a little more. Make it deeper, right there. How's that? Let's tuck this a little bit more, just playing, make sure there's white space among all elements. So we could do the name anywhere, really. We can make it left justified with the title. We can keep it center aligned, or we can actually do the opposite of alignment of the object above. We could put like a line here, drag an element line in here, and then have this below. But I think I like it right there. So let's edit the photo to see if there's anything we can do to make it better. I already like it, but let's just experiment. Ooh, that has a nice softness to it. I think what they did is they increased the saturation and lowered the contrast. And when you lower the contrast, it kind of lightens it a little bit. Ooh, that's a little too dark, a little too sharp. This has potential. I like this. Had some X process in it. Let's experiment with this one since I do like it. It's almost too much saturation. Brightness. Add a little brightness to it. So that's an option. Kind of lightened it overall and lowered the contrast. I actually like that better, what I had, what the manipulations I did. Maybe add a little bit more. Let's add a little bit more contrast. There we go. And add some coolness. Ooh, that's a little too much coolness. Great. I think we're getting there. I like this a little bit better. It's more of an emotional connection. Make sure I can crop this the perfect way. All right, so there's our little book that we made, and about 15 minutes or less. And we could always come up with different layouts and see if we like it, but I'm pretty happy with it.